You think you're living reality, but in truth, you're reading an invisible language. It has no words, no sound, yet it writes everything. Your encounters, your failures, your miracles. Metatron is the scribe of the unseen, and what you call life is your soul interpreting geometric codes in silence. Chapter 1. The language before light, the frequency before form. Long before language had shape, long before sound had meaning, there was only one thing: vibration. Not a word, not a thought, just a primordial pulse echoing through the silence of the void, the original rhythm from which all realities emerged. That vibration was not chaos. It was order in motion, a living intelligence, a sacred geometry still etched into the unseen structure of your soul. And it was Metatron who first captured this vibration and wove it into an alphabet of light. He did not invent a language. He remembered one. The same language that still flows through your heartbeat, that dreams through your breath, that waits patiently in your bones, for you to remember it too. You are not surrounded by emptiness. You are immersed in codes that vibrate silently around you. You can't hear them with your ears, but you feel them with your being. Because the divine language is not audible. It is experiential. It shows itself in visions, in sacred symbols, in synchronicities that break logic but whisper truth. And the reason you're here now, reading this, feeling this, is because something in you is starting to vibrate in resonance again. You're not learning a new language. You're reawakening the one your soul already speaks, the one that shaped galaxies, moved stars, and scripted the secret architecture of who you are. This is not sound. This is remembrance. This is how Metatron writes reality before it takes form. Chapter 2. The vibrational field where reality is decided.
You think your life is shaped by events, by choices, by chance, but nothing around you exists independently. Everything is responding to a field, an invisible field, not made of matter, but of frequency, not built by effort, but by energetic architecture.
Metatron doesn't sculpt reality like a potter molds clay. He designs it through sacred frequency patterns. He codes it using geometric intelligence. And that code, that divine sequence pulsing through the grid of existence, is not outside of you. It's being projected from within you, every moment. What you call reality is just your vibrational signal made visible. If you feel trapped in cycles, if your energy keeps collapsing in the same places, if your dreams almost manifest but never stabilize, it's not because you're broken. It's because the pattern you're emitting is not coherent with what you seek. The code hasn't been aligned. The structure hasn't been upgraded. You are not attracting experiences. You are sustaining the geometry they require to exist. Metatron teaches this simple, eternal law. You do not manifest what you desire. You manifest what your field is structured to hold. So, if you want something different, stop pushing. Stop chasing, and start recoding the source, your inner frequency grid. Because the real shift doesn't happen outside. It happens when your entire being becomes resonant with a pattern of what's already waiting for you. And when that moment comes, reality doesn't resist. It reorganizes, because the field always obeys its original author. And that author is frequency. Chapter 3. The invisible calligraphy of the chakras. Your life is a sentence, written in a language you've never been taught to read. Each experience, each blockage, each miracle is not random. It is the result of a sacred alphabet being emitted through you in silence. And that alphabet lives in your chakras. You were told chakras are energy centers, but they are more than that. They are vibrational syllables, living glyphs in the language of your soul. Each one writes a different frequency. The root writes survival and grounding. The sacral writes desire and flow. The solar plexus writes power and direction. The heart writes love and opening. The throat writes expression and truth. The third eye writes vision and perception. The crown writes light and remembrance. Together, they form your energetic syntax, the inner grammar that defines what reality you are capable of receiving, transmitting, and sustaining. But what happens when one of these centers is blocked or spinning out of sync? The sentence of your life becomes fragmented. The code becomes corrupted. The field becomes noisy, and Metatron's message cannot be delivered clearly through you. That's why you attract things you cannot hold, why you lose what once aligned, why you loop through lessons you thought you had already learned, because your soul is still trying to finish the sentence. And the chakra that carries the next letter is not open. Chakra alignment is not spiritual fashion. It is the refinement of your energetic calligraphy. And when your chakras begin to vibrate in harmony, your field becomes legible again. The grid becomes readable, and the universe finally understands your message. Because you're not just living a life, you're writing a frequency, and the chakras are your sacred pen. Chapter 4: The Silence That Codes the Future. You've been taught that silence is empty, that it's the absence of thought, a gap between words. But that was never true. In the eyes of Metatron, silence is not absence. It is instruction. It is in silence that the quantum field opens itself to reprogramming. It is in silence that the soul speaks most clearly, because silence is where the new timeline is written. Every breath you take in presence is a signal, a vibrational command to the grid of existence. And it is only when the mind dissolves into stillness, only when the emotional noise is quieted, that Metatron can transmit the next code. In stillness, your field stops reacting and begins resonating. It becomes a tuning fork for divine frequency. It stops echoing the past and starts structuring the future. The moment you enter sacred silence, you are no longer in time. You are in design. You are in alignment with the dimension where the unmanifest listens to you. The next chapter of your life is not waiting to be found. It is waiting to be heard inside you. Because creation doesn't start with action. It begins with alignment, with presence, with the geometry of stillness. And when you are fully present in that stillness, you don't need to ask anymore. You become the pen. And Metatron writes the next line of your life through the frequency you are holding, not through the words you say. So the real question isn't, what do you want to manifest? The real question is, what frequency are you willing to sustain in silence? Chapter 5: The Inner Cube of Creation. Most people try to build reality with effort, but effort is not the tool, structure is. And hidden within your being is a living mechanism of divine geometry, a vibrational cube that encodes your ability to shape timelines, to collapse quantum potential into form. Metatron doesn't draw outside of you. He draws through the cube inside you. This cube is not a metaphor. It is the triadic engine of your consciousness, and it has 3 sacred axes. Thought, the vertical axis organizing intelligence into pattern. Emotion, the horizontal axis giving depth and gravity to frequency. Breath, the central axis, moving spirit through matter. When thought is fragmented, the cube tilts. When emotion is repressed, the structure warps. When breath is shallow, the mechanism stalls. But when these 3 align, when you think with presence, feel with openness, and breathe with awareness, you activate the inner cube of creation. And when the cube spins, the field responds. It organizes reality not through willpower, but through coherence. It generates symmetry in your electromagnetic field. It writes order into chaos. This people, and in that moment, you stop being a seeker and become a geometric participant in the writing of existence. Metatron's cube is not just a symbol in the stars. It is the architectural blueprint of your soul. And when it spins inside you, you remember what it feels like to create from alignment, not force. This is the difference between trying to manifest and becoming the field that reality aligns to. Chapter 6. The Atheric Writing of Your Journey. Your life is not a line. It is a manuscript. A living scripture written across dimensions. Not in ink, but in vibration. Every emotion you've buried, every memory that lingers in the background, every déjà vu, every recurring symbol is not random. It is part of the etheric script of your soul. You didn't forget because it wasn't important. You forgot because it wasn't time to remember. But now, Metatron is calling the fragments back. Each moment of your life, the pain you outgrew, the people who vanished, the places that only exist in dreams, are codes written on overlapping timelines. And as your frequency rises, the pages begin to merge. This merging isn't chaos. It's remembrance in motion. The past isn't following you. It's calling you to reintegrate what you left behind. That unresolved grief? It's a sentence waiting to be completed. That intense connection that never made sense? A paragraph that was paused, not ended. That recurring dream? A footnote from a life your soul still considers current. You are not broken. You are mid-sentence. And Metatron, the scribe of divine structure, is handing you the pen again. He's saying, finish the chapter you began in another life. Integrate the line you abandoned during fear. Write the ending your heart always knew existed. You don't need to erase anything. You just need to remember that even the pain was part of the poetry. Because the greatest lie told to you was this, that your story was yours alone, when in truth, you've always been writing with the divine. Chapter 7. The Symbols That Chose You. You keep seeing the same numbers, the same animal, the same word, whispered in dreams, a shape that reappears in places where it shouldn't. This is not coincidence. This is communication. Symbols are not decorations. They are living codes. They are how Metatron speaks when the soul is ready, but the mind is still learning how to listen. These are not just signs. They are calls to remembrance. Each one is a frequency packet, a condensed vibration wrapped in geometry, delivered in silence. When you see 1111, the veil thins. When a hawk crosses your path, a message activates. When you dream of the same place again and again, you are revisiting the coordinates of a memory hidden in your DNA. You are not imagining this. You are recognizing it, because these symbols were not randomly placed around you. They were planted by your higher self, by your guides, by the field of divine intelligence, long before you were born. You didn't find the symbol found you. It appeared the moment your frequency was high enough to decode it. And now, it repeats. Why? Because it's waiting to be answered. Every sacred sign is an invitation to realign your path, to break a loop, to activate a dormant gift, to remember what your soul already knows. This is not superstition. This is light language in motion, a form of divine literacy that bypasses the logical mind and speaks directly to the architecture of your spirit. So the next time the symbol returns, don't just observe it, respond, because every code that visits you is asking one silent question. Are you ready to remember what I came to awaken? Chapter 8. The Field Where the Word Becomes Form. You've been taught that words are just sound, but in truth, every word is architecture. Each phrase you whisper to yourself, in thought, in silence, in repetition, is a vibrational blueprint, etching new lines into the field around you. The field doesn't speak your language, it speaks your resonance. It doesn't hear what you say once, It responds to what you say over and over and over again. That inner phrase, "I'm not ready," it never works out for me, "This is too hard," it doesn't just stay inside. It becomes geometry in your energy field. It becomes angles and edges and walls. And those walls are real. They are made of language turned into form, language that was not aligned with who you really are. But here is the shift. When you change the vibration of your words, you don't just speak differently, you live differently. Say, "I am remembering." Say, "I allow the structure of light." Say, "I am the writer of the next line." And feel how the cube begins to turn again. Because Metatron doesn't respond to noise. He responds to coherent frequency. And your voice, when aligned with your breath, your feeling, and your intention, becomes the most powerful tool of creation you've ever possessed. This is not about shouting affirmations into the void. This is about sacred articulation, speaking not just from the mind, but from the geometry of soul truth. When you speak in alignment, you don't just create sound, you create structure. You write a new field, and the universe, like a reader leaning in, starts to rearrange itself around the sentence you've just begun. So speak carefully, not fearfully, but reverently, because every word you whisper inside is already becoming form outside. Chapter 9. Remembrance is the new name for creation. You were told that creating meant starting from scratch, that to build something sacred, you had to become something new. But Metatron reveals the opposite. You don't create the truth of your being. You remember it. And in that remembrance, form appears. Every vision that stirs inside you, every word that arrives before logic, every sensation of, "I've been here before," is not imagination, it's resonance. It's the soul vibrating with something it has already known. Because long before your first breath, long before your name had sound, you were already writing your light into the fabric of reality. The people you're drawn to, the symbols that chase you in dreams, the talents you didn't train but carry as if inherited from the stars, they are memories encoded into your design. And when you align with those memories, creation becomes effortless. Because you're no longer forcing reality to obey you. You're simply allowing what has always been true to emerge. Metatron doesn't teach you to manifest. He teaches you to remember what your soul already authored. Creation is not a task, it is a return. A sacred return to the original line you started long before this life began. And the moment you remember who you are, your field reorganizes to match that frequency. This is not spiritual theory. It's vibrational law. You are not learning how to create. You are awakening the geometry of a design that never left you. You don't need to be more. You only need to remember that what you seek was never lost, only unremembered. And now, as the codes begin to stir, you don't create the future, you remember your place within it. Final chapter. The silent seal of a new reality. You don't need to force the shift, because if you're still here, it already began. Something has aligned, a field inside you has opened, and the codes are listening. Every breath you took during this message, every image that moved you, every silence that held your attention, was not passive. It was a rewriting in motion. You have crossed a threshold, one that can't be seen with the eyes, only with the field. Metatron is no longer just speaking to you. He is now writing through you. You are no longer just a reader of sacred geometry. You are its living expression, and the script you now carry is not reactive, but conscious. This is not the end of the message. It is the beginning of your authorship. If this message echoed in your soul, if something ancient inside you just woke up, type in the comments, "I allow Metatron to write through me." This is not just a phrase, it's a vibrational agreement, a permission encoded with remembrance, and a silent initiation into the next level of your light. Like this video if your field felt the shift. Share this message with someone whose soul is ready to remember. Subscribe, because the next transmission is already vibrating in your direction. The next video will reveal the sound before the light, how the original frequency creates portals in reality.